Well, congratulations on the second season of Hightown. I mean, it's always great to have a show renewed after all.
Yeah. No, it's so wonderful. We had a lot of fun shooting the second season.
And congratulations on your performance as well. And I know when the series started, you said what interested you about Ray was he was such a fascinating character. He sort of like got under your skin. But what's kept hold of your interest for this second season?
Rebecca Cutter, the creator of the show, the head writer, she's just given me such a gift of material. And, I asked her, she said, what do you want to do for the second season? I just said, just use me, grind me up, throw me this way, throw me that way. And I've had so much fun working on this material. And I think everyone has. It's beautiful writing for everybody involved.
So how much of an involvement did you have in the way the character goes forward in season 2? Because he's quite different to season 1.
Yeah. I stay out of the writer's room. I don't think it's a good idea for an actor to come up and say, I have this idea and I have that idea. You just give me the material and then I'll interpret it and I'll give it back to you, So, but Rebecca has gotten to know me over these past few years. So I have noticed she's writing into my strengths, which has been great.
Because he's not in a very good place. I mean, at the end of the first season, things weren't going terribly well. And at the start of this new one, it gets even worse for him.
Thank you. Yeah.
So did you have to do any special research for the way that the characters develop? Because I know in season 1, you spent some time with narcotics cops and things like that.
Right.
What did you have to do for this time round?
There comes a point where I think you really need to look inward sometimes. And, I'm not Ray, Ray's not me, but I think we all have had a lot of, personal hurdles to overcome in life, so you draw on these things and also, I have a lot of conversations with Rebecca and what we're trying to do as a whole and as a film crew and trying to move the whole story in a certain direction. So you can say, fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have to do much research for season 2 for Ray.
And there are so many cop shows on TV. I mean, it's such a familiar format.
Yeah.
I guess finding a premise for a new series to start with must be hard enough. But when you get to the second season stage, how do you keep it fresh?
Right. What do you do? How do you keep it fresh? And that's kind of our job every day when we show up to work is like, how do we keep this going? And in television, I think there's the fear of what I call like the endless middle. Where you find a formula that works and everyone just sits in the formula and stays safe. And we don't want to stay safe. We want to keep pushing it every day. You show up to work. Okay, how do we take this scene and make it this and make it this and turn it on its head this way? And we have a really kind of vibrant, creative set. We set a good tone and culture at work. It's beautiful.
And does the fact that you've played quite a few cops in your time actually help with this, or is it more of a hindrance, perhaps?
That's a really good question. I think the trap is you start thinking I'm playing a cop. I'm not playing a cop. I'm playing
a box.
I'm playing a human being, right? You know what I mean? I'm just, you forget the cop element, because that comes with a certain stigma, get that out, So I've had fun playing Ray because now I'm allowed to explore all these other sides of him, and by the way, he's not a cop anymore. As much as Ray thinks he's a cop, he's not a cop anymore.
It does seem to be ingrained in him that he's a cop. I've got to say, he seems reluctant to let go, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, it's that I like playing on that. If someone told me I couldn't act anymore, who do I've been doing this for 20 years. That's who I identify as a human being. It's my job, it's my occupation, I mean, I'm more than that, but am I? I don't know.
And of course, everybody, I guess, remembers one of your early roles, which of course was in 24.
Yeah.
when I guess you must have been in your mid-20s. You weren't actually 24 when you made it, were you?
No, I was 25.
Ah, damn.
Very close. I was right there. Months off.
So what was it like at such an early stage of your career having a role in a series that was such a big deal?
Oh, I remember being so nervous because it was a big deal. That was the third season, and it was 24 it was a groundbreaking show. But I had a great time working on it. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Kiefer. I learned a lot from that film crew. That show also had a good tone and culture on set for taking something and taking risks with it, So yeah, I look back fondly on my year there, getting beat up on 24.
I think the first actual film I saw.
I just gotta say, I'm one of the only characters that didn't die, and I've died a lot in a lot of different things. I didn't die on 24.
You're not going to die in Hightown, are you?
Not yet.
Now, actually, the first time I saw you in a feature film was in Parkland, where you played Lee Harvey Oswald's brother.
Yes, Jeremy Strong playing Lee.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a small role, but it was actually quite a crucial one. And of course, in Hightown, you're actually playing a central character, which you don't often do. You tend to do the sort of smaller supporting roles, if you like. And I wondered if you actually preferred that to being, well, I suppose you're one step away from the limelight, if you like.
That's a good question. I don't look at it that way. I think if you look at Parkland, it really is an ensemble piece, but Robert Oswald always drove the scene. So if you look back at it, if you look at it structurally, he's always moving the scene. Yeah, there's all this stuff happening, but he had a very clear through line. And that's what I look for. So if it's one scene in a movie, but I feel like you can never edit that character out because they push the story forward, because they matter, it's worth it, Doesn't matter. If you're in every scene of the movie, but you don't move the story, that's not exciting to me. I just want to move the story.
Yeah, I think that's why he was so memorable, because it gave us an insight, really, that we didn't really expect from the movie at all.
Yeah, he's a different viewpoint,
Yeah, completely.
It's a funny thing about that movie. I learned something that, if you're doing a film about, okay, that film was about the 72 hours between the JFK assassination and the assassination of Lee Harvey Oswald. Everyone had an opinion of it. So it didn't matter what we put up there. Everyone had an opinion, but that's why we do it, so the audience can have an opinion,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, now you've finished making Rebel Ridge, which of course has been delayed by the pandemic, but it's done now, I believe.
No, we're going to go back and we're going to go for it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, so there's more to do on that.
There's more to do.
Oh, so we've got to wait longer.
For film business, it's been a weird time for everyone. We're all trying to put it together.
But it's got a cracking cast, because you're alongside the likes of Don Johnson and James Cromwell. Can you tell me anything about the role that you've got in the film?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that a little silent. Okay. It's funny you say I've played some police officers. Yeah, I play a police officer who may or may not be a crooked police officer. Okay. We dive into some deep dark territory there. But I've worked with Jeremy Saulnier before. I love him. I love him as a filmmaker, and he's a true artist, and he stands by his work.
I was going to ask you about working with Jeremy Saulnier, because I think the very fact that he's directing it builds your expectations. You expect something electric. I mean, he doesn't do anything by halves, really, does he?
No.
What's so great about working with him?
It's that razor's edge. I like working with talented people who are risk takers, and it's that thing of like he's what he's doing is so unique to himself. And if you meet him and you see his personality, which by the way, he's actually very quiet and very intense, but I get him. I get his filmmaking style, you know, and you work with certain directors in your life where you look at each other and you understand it, you know, so we don't have to talk about it much. We don't have to intellectualize it. We're here, and then it's like, go play and then adjust and go play and adjust. And to be honest with you, we have that on Hightown. I think at this point, we all know each other so well. It's so cool to show up to work, and you know, I'll show up to work and just watch other people. You know, I'm just so excited to see what Monica's going to do today, what Riley's going to do today, what Dohn Norwood is going to do today. It's just it's a good environment to work in. And
it's great when it's that instinctive, really, where you don't actually have to think too hard about it.
Right. Exactly. You know, comes naturally.
So, James, been lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And good luck with the show.
All right. Till next time. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Now. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!